Hi everyone, welcome to Obesity Explained. My name is Evan Nadler and I am actually the nation's busiest pediatric bariatric surgeon and have been doing weight loss surgery on kids for 20 years. Crazy, right? Most people don't even know that bariatric surgery is available for children, and then to figure out that it's available for it's been around for 20 years is usually mind-blowing for some. I've basically seen it all, done it all with respect to childhood obesity, including science from cells and treating kids as young as 4. And when I talk about 20 years, that's like way before the nation was even talking about childhood obesity, well before anybody even knew it was really a problem. I've been an advocate for kids with this disease for a long time. And I think it's really important that people understand childhood obesity because it's sort of like the purest form of the disease, if you think about it, because there's less of the environment that has changed these kids. You know, when I'm talking about 10-year-olds with obesity, it's not like they've been out, doing things they shouldn't do for their lifetime of 20 or 30 years. And in order to understand the adult disease of obesity, I think it's really critical for folks to understand the childhood form of the disease. So that's what we're gonna be doing here. But before we get into that, I wanna tell you a little bit about myself so that you know who I am and why I'm doing this. First, I didn't have obesity as a kid, but I did have some weight issues. This is back in the, 70s and 80s, so a ways back. I remember personally drinking skim milk since I was about 6. I think I went to a pediatrician's office who told my parents, your kid should not drink whole milk, he should only drink skim milk. I didn't even know anything about it, I just did what I was told. When I started playing soccer, sort of around 7 or 8 years old, my nickname on the team was Duck. Again, I was told it was because the way I ran, it made me look like I waddled, but if you think about it, that's probably not the most flattering nickname to have as a kid. The next sort of phase in my life was high school. In high school, it was Heavy Ev was a nickname because my first name's Evan, so Heavy Ev. Again, endearing, but probably a subtle dig at my weight. And then I think maybe my personal favorite was Jabba the Gut. Don't know how many Star Wars fans there are out there, but if you know the Star Wars series and you know who Jabba the Hutt is, you understand what Jabba the Gut means. So I actually played Division I college soccer, despite these sort of issues that people perceived with my weight. And I say it that way because I didn't ever perceive these as issues, but a lot of other people did. And I think that's unfortunately the case with a lot of folks who have weight issues. When I went to play Division I soccer at a fairly well-known university, high-end place, my nickname there was Keg on Legs. So again, maybe not the most flattering of nicknames. And maybe it was a little bit because of some of my recreational activities off the soccer field, but we're not gonna talk about that right now. These are the things that I suffered from or I was exposed to, and I'm sure you as the watchers out there are getting some of the same things, whether it be subtle, like people not wanting to sit next to you on an airplane, or frankly, like overt, where you either hear comments from people or from your doctors or your providers or whatever. So my point here is I want to be the guy who tells the world what they need to know about obesity and childhood obesity and to get the national conversation to change. Probably the most common question I would get in my office when people would come to see me first time is, we've tried everything. My kid eats healthy, he plays sports, and he's still gaining weight or still has a weight issue. Why? Sounds sort of like me when I was growing up. The other question is we have 3 kids in our family. They all do the same stuff. One kid has a weight issue, the other 2 are thin as a rail. What's up with that? That's why I sort of want to do this channel, is because people don't understand. And if you go to your pediatrician or you go to your primary care doctor or whatever, they don't actually often know the answers. And they just, sort of say, well, patient blaming or shaming, where it's like, well, your one kid must be having, Doritos when you're not looking, or eating candy when you're not paying attention, or something, Skittles, whatever it is. And that's not usually the case. In fact, it's rarely the case. In fact, patient blaming should probably stop altogether, and it's really not about what patients are doing. But we'll get into that later on down the line. But because of that, the kids, they come into my office full of shame, self-blame, self-hatred, all these really sad things to see. And as you can imagine, no one really likes coming to the doctor's office to talk about their weight. So they come into the office. Parents are psyched because they found me somehow online or whatever, and are finally getting close to someone who can provide some answers and give them some hope and some treatment options. But the kids are, well, if the kids, believe it or not, often the kids find me. They're the ones who are online and find that I even exist. And then they go to their parents, and they often have to convince their parents to let them come see me. So if that's the case, then the kids are psyched too, because they're like, they've already seen me online, they've already read about the kids I've helped. Sometimes that's not the case. So if the kids come in and they're sad or like down or, sort of like, I can't believe I'm talking to a doctor again about my weight, all I hear is the same old stuff that I need to eat less and exercise more or eat healthier, and I already do that and nothing's changing. I usually sort of start with some jokes. I usually make fun of the parents because every teenager likes to make fun of their parents. So I usually say, hey man, I don't really care how you got here. I maybe don't say man, I say, hey, I don't care how you got to this spot. We're just gonna forget about all that, and we're just gonna move forward and try to figure out what we can do. And then I say something like, and that usually perks them up a little bit because they know we're not gonna talk about like, how many meals do you eat? How big, do you eat big meals, small meals? Nobody wants to talk about that. Adults don't want to talk about that. Kids definitely don't want to talk about that. So then I go on to the, making fun of the parents part, to build some rapport with the kids. And I say, listen, if you're gonna blame somebody, blame your parents. They're the ones who gave you these genes. And these genes are what's, driving you to have these weight issues, at least in part. And you just have to play the hand you're dealt. You got no choice. So again, let's forget about how you got here and let's move on to what we're gonna do next. This channel is basically gonna start by explaining what obesity is and why it's bad for people and why we should do something about it. We're gonna run through a lot of different topics. We're gonna talk, diet and exercise is part of the discussion, although I find it, frankly, a minor part of the discussion. So we're gonna talk about a bunch of other things that I think can help you much more. And when I say help you, I don't mean just the kids. I mean the kids, their parents, and anyone suffering from obesity. And then we'll also talk about like some societal things, like how to talk about the disease properly. What about people who say, you can be healthy no matter what your size is. We'll talk about a little bit about like what the government's trying to do and why none of that is working at all. But, if you learn anything from these videos, I want you to learn one thing, and that's obesity is a disease and not a lifestyle choice, and there's something you can do about it. My name's Evan Nadler. I am here for you. I am here for all the kids who are suffering from obesity. I'm here for their parents, and I'm here for the whole world so we can learn about this disease together and do something about it. See you next time.